I was on the road doing some dates with Tony. Now, Tony did some dates with Janet Jackson, but the real show is Janet. We know that. I knew it. The company knew it. Even Tony knew it, okay? Hey, Uncle Doug here with another true story. This story draws from my time in the music business, right? Now, backdrop. My primary job became getting records played on the radio. Period. That's the job. Had other little things to do like interviews and going out on little promotional tours and be with the artists, that kind of thing. But essentially, at the epicenter of purpose was getting that radio station to play the record. All right? So check this out. So some of these radio stations are super cool. They are people of their word, but most of them are not, okay? And there was a tour that I was a part of by way of one of my artists. I was on the road doing some dates with Tony. Now, Tony did some dates with Janet Jackson, okay? So now, I have Tony, but the real show is Janet. We know that. I knew it, the company knew it, even Tony knew it, okay? But here's the situation. The radio stations, they wanted Janet Jackson tickets. Now, what we would do as a record company, we might buy 50 pair of tickets, 100 pair, and I would use those for promotions on the radio, take care of a few people. Here's a pair of tickets to see Janet, right? Okay, so there's a programmer, and I'm not even going to call his name by changing it. I'm not going to do that to him because he really essentially is a good guy now. But back in the day, that dude was a he was likable. We got along really well. But that dude, he could tell you one thing and go another way. So he did that to me. Not once, not thrice, but ridiculous amounts of time. And it always caused me headaches. So Janet Jackson tour's on the way. I've got all these tickets. I said, hey, man, we're going to give 6 tickets away over the radio, and I'm going to give you 4 for yourself, okay? And so as it turns out, he used a pair to give to one of their clients, some big advertiser or whatever it was. He did what he had to do. That's fine. Now, these tickets that the record companies get, they are like not front row seats. You don't want front row seats, but these were nice seats all the time, right? So when it came time for the Janet Jackson show, I went to the box office. After we got our, I think it was 50 pair of tickets, I went to the window. I said, excuse me, ma'am, I need 2 tickets. She says, okay, where? I said, the worst seats in the building. I mean, absolute worst. She says, you're kidding. I said, I'm not kidding. I want the worst seats in the building, as high as you can get them, and obstructed view. I don't care. She says, are you serious? I said, I'm very serious. Give them to me. So I paid for these 2 tickets. Horrible seat. I mean, horrible. So what I did was, when I gave the guy his ticket, I said, hey, man, look, go on ahead and get these away. I got your pair. He said, nah, man. I said, nah, I got you. I got a pair for you. And so, long story short, I gave him his tickets. And he and his girlfriend got to the arena, and they looked at their tickets, and they start walking up higher and higher and higher and higher to the roof of that joker, okay? Ooh, he was pissed, okay, because you don't do radio stations that way. So my act, Tony, they did their show. It was the done deal for them, and it was intermission. And I knew Janet Jackson was what everybody wanted to see. So what I did, and I had about maybe 20 people sitting there from the other radio stations, people from surrounding cities, people that he knew. So I went on upstairs, and I was exaggerating. I was coming up the steps. Dang, man, I can't even breathe up here. Right? And he said, God damn it, that Doug Craig mother. He was cursing. I mean, he was going off. You give me these damn tickets. Blah, 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 blah. I'm taking all your records off the radio. Rah, 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 rah. I mean, he was going. And everybody around him, I said, Larry. Oops. I said his name. Sorry. I said, hey, man, hold up. Give me a minute. I need to get up there. So I got up there. And the people were looking at me like, dang, this dude just cracked on our seats. Because I was calling them the worst seats in the building. I said, hey, look. I looked at his girlfriend. I said, are you enjoying the show? And she's like, I said, well, I tell you what. Here. This seat is first row along the side. Perfect view. You go on and enjoy the show. And she looked over at Barry. I screwed up already. Anyway, she looked over at Barry, and he was like, what you going? She said, it's Janet Jackson, baby. She took that ticket and was headed down to the floor. And then I sat in her seat. He said, you mother... I'm taking your records off. I ain't gonna ever play your records. Don't you do this to me again. You embarrassed me. You this, you that. Rah, 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 rah. He was going. And I looked at him. I said, Barry, you gonna get enough lying to me, okay? And today is just one example of the big payback. Now don't lie to me again, Larry. Barry. Oops. Anyway, don't lie to me again. Well, I ain't gonna have to. Because I'm telling you this as a promise. I ain't ever playing your records again. I said, really? Go tell that to Janet Jackson. And he goes, you yellow motherfucker. Thanks, man. And he ran down the steps. And when he got to the seats, because I told the other radio stations what I did, because I do that to whoever. Each concert, I do that. Whoever's pissing me off or lying to me, I put them in the nosebleeds. Some I leave up there. But this dude, he's a good guy. And but he was a son of a gun to work with. And when I gave him that ticket, he went down, and then I was right behind him, and he's cursing and laughing. He said, man, you funny, man. He said, that was some funny. He said, and when we got to those seats where all the other radio stations were, they were laughing. They were like, Larry was up in the nosebleeds, you know. And his girlfriend or fiance at the time, she was just laughing. She's like, oh God. So anyway, don't mess with Winnie the Pooh with a shotgun, because I'll get you, okay? So that's my true story for this episode of the Slightly Damaged podcast. And you see, slightly damaged, slightly, but I was damaged for a point. Uncle Doug, see ya. Bye-bye.